Okay, so I have been super busy today, and this is actually interview number 3 today. So I'm super excited to be welcoming the gorgeous BT back with me. And I know a lot of my subscribers are going to be cheering when they see your name pop up, BT. So first and foremost, thank you for coming on again and speaking with me this time, just me and you. Some of you would have seen BT on the Tripping on Truth video that we actually did with Sarah Lease, I don't know, maybe a month ago now. Who knows? Who counts the days or any time? I don't think anyone does anymore. And I'm really, really excited and blessed that BT has subsequently moved since that video, which is why it's taken a while to get him back on. But we are back on this evening, and we are going to be speaking all around the subject of healing. And you guys know it's my favorite subject. When BT said to me, let's talk about healing, I was like, yes, let's have some really conscious conversations. So first and foremost, welcome back, my friend.
Well, thank you. It's great to be back, and it's great to be moved. We finally got kind of almost halfway settled here in Naples, Florida, and so it's been quite an adventure here the last month. Just the move and dealing with energies along the way, because again, the United States is in a major lockdown, and all because of healing, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? And so we're going through quite a struggle here in the States, as I'm sure you are, overseas as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And so once we got here, it was very relaxing for about 20 minutes.
I was going to say to you, because the energy where you were previously was pretty heavy, right? So where you are now, is it better, or is it same but just different because of everything that's going on?
No, the energy here in New Mexico, because of the climate of the mentality is much darker. There's more of a control energy, a entitlement energy, more of a shadow energy, basically. Yeah. And so when we came here to Florida the first time, I mean, it was like you didn't have any pressure. There was no negative energies that you could just actually just feel.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just walk, and it was like nothing was intrusive. Nothing was coming at you. Yeah. And so now that we've been here and semi-settled, I mean, it's like the next thing to paradise to us.
Beautiful.
It's just beautiful here. The weather's immaculate. The animal life is incredible. And animals
I'm slightly envious of your weather right now. Gonna be honest, just gonna throw it out there. If I could get on a plane, I would get on a plane right now. Trust me.
I know you're probably in the double digits, right? Is that fair to say, if not less?
Breathing.
So we're doing really well here. We're in the high 80s. We spent yesterday, my spouse Carla and I, outside working on the banana plants and trimming them, and just working on some of the yard stuff. And we have everything from papayas to all the natural fruits. They're great for healing. I mean, all the things that we talk about is now, not necessarily something that we just envisioned, but we created.
Yeah.
And so that's a really huge area. And so, as we move forward now, we're in the process of getting a shop ready so we can have talks and lectures here and things of that nature. A 40 by 60 building where we can do some of my personal stuff that I like, and then also the seminars and talks as well. And so we'll
amazing.
To help a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's what we're here to do, right? We are here, and this is why our souls keep coming back together this lifetime, is because we're going to bring it all together and help as many people heal as possible. So talk to me just quickly about how it was traveling from New Mexico to Florida during lockdown, because that must have been a bit challenging, right?
It was quite challenging, because again, you have energies that are so chaotic, and there's so much frustration and anger and anxiety that the general population is carrying right now. And then on top of that, we're going through an election year, and so it's even a bigger anxiety here in the States than probably most people even really want to dive into.
And I think it's fair to say this is probably the most traumatic election to date, right?
I would say it's the most traumatic, but it's also the most influential election to understanding free will,
Yeah.
as well as the ability to come together as a true republic form of government,
Yeah.
not a democracy, but a republic form of government, which is a constitutional based government, just like all the countries overseas started with, was a
Yeah.
republic. And so it's very difficult to watch individuals who are going through such a struggle because of the frequencies and vibrations that I see with these individuals. You know, I see their pain, I see their suffering, I see their anxiety. I can see their illnesses that they're creating. I mean, there's so many people that are just, in turbulence, creating cancer and anxiety and aneurysms and all these things that they're unaware of. And the spirit communicates to me and tells me to talk to people and bring this to them. I do. And sometimes spirit doesn't tell me, but I still recognize this energy that's in them. Yeah. And so, it isn't that, I'm picking and choosing. It's when spirit guides me, then I have to follow.
Absolutely.
And that's something that most people, don't recognize within themselves, because again, our ego, that male energy ego on our right side, the soul and flesh energy, tries to override our true feminine spirit and light energy of our left side, where our heart is. Yeah. And so we get kind of combobulated, so to speak. We get, roadblocks and things of this nature. And so it's a very difficult time, not just here in the States, but, overseas as well. And I've been kind of watching some of the things that you guys have gone through the last numerous years. And I tell you, we're all in the same boat together.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to pick up on that point, because at the moment there is this division being created, as we're all very, very aware. There's this huge division being created, and actually we are all in this together. There's no one better than another person. We're all in it together. And I honestly believe that we all want the same result, and that is our freedom, our health, wealth, all of the things that have actually been stripped away from us. But a lot of us haven't seen that they've been stripped away from us over the years. And actually, because I know I'm very similar to you, like I can feel people's shadow in their body where they've got cancer or something like that. Energetically, I can feel it. And I'm very intuitive when it comes down to medical. I know a lot of things and a lot of ways of how to unpick people. Literally, it just flies through me. And I know you're very plant-based, and you've got amazing techniques yourself for healing. So, what I'm finding fascinating right now is that for some of us, like myself and yourself and other people similar to us, we're really using this opportunity to go inwards and figure out what's going on. And when things come up for us, we're like really working on it. But there's the other side of the coin, which is very much outward, and they're abusive and they're blaming and shaming. And, I know a lot of the work that I'm doing at the moment, I'm triggering the heck out of people, because it's kind of got to get to that point of we need to wake up and actually realize how powerful we are.
Yes, we do. And the power that we have within us is a true spiritual power. Okay, it's not the power of the flesh and the soul. It's the spiritual power of light source energy from the creator of consciousness, the collectiveness of consciousness, and our own individual consciousness. Yeah. And as we form those three energies together, we're unstoppable. And that's the beautiful part as a human being and as an angelic being, because in our tradition, all of you out there are angels in my eyes. And that's how I look at it. And so, never feel that you're beneath yourself. And I think, so many of us right now are.
Oh, you've gone quiet. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me at all?
Now I can hear you, but you were completely gone. I don't know what happened.
that happens, I guess. But, when we look at our struggles that we're having and we're seeing around us, it's a difficult time, because most of the general population doesn't want to address their own individual situation. And when we look at healing on a collectiveness area, we have to be responsible enough within our first amount of light source energy, which is our white light, be able to recognize within ourselves what's going on within ourselves. I mean, if we're being egotistical and we're living in fear base and we're being angry and all these kind of things, then we're really not being a true spiritual light to assist the collectiveness of consciousness. But at the same time, those of us who are here are meant to trigger people. Okay, just so you know that we are here to trigger people.
I'm comfortable with that. Many aren't. I love it. I love it when people trigger me. I love it because you just know that it's that next layer, you know, and it's very rare that people trigger me these days, and that's not a challenge.
It's exciting actually when you do run across it, and it's like the way I trigger people, and I because I grew up in not only just the understanding of our traditions, but I also grew up in the area of understanding law and common law and the structure of common law versus the area of corporate governance.
Wow.
And so when I trigger people, it's not necessarily always in the American Indian tradition. It's in the area of common law versus corporate governance. And so they tend to have a real hard time with this because, again, as an American Indian, we're stereotyped. Yeah. We're not supposed to believe in the Constitution of the United States. We're not supposed to believe in certain aspects of the government of our country. And my family, since they left the reservation in the early 1920s, when it was lawful to leave the reservation and start your own path instead of being dictated through the governance of the corporation of the government, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the people that oversaw the reservations. And then you brought in the Catholic Church and all these religious faiths, which basically, you know, took away all of our belief systems, changed our names to Spanish names. That's why I have a Spanish last name, is because they gave us that name. It wasn't our real name. Because in our tradition, you're given a name, and then your last name is the name of your tribe. And so technically, my name would be BT Piwalathon. And so, you know, that's how I always try to, you know, introduce myself when I'm working with others within different clans or tribes or people who understand the true aspect, because that's part of healing. I mean, if you don't know who your identity is and you're struggling with identity, then you can't actually take the responsibility of your own self to heal yourself because you don't know who you are. Right. And that's a very important factor, you know, in society. We have to know who we are.
And a huge problem right now, because what's happening is all of this stuff is coming up for us. We're having to figure out very quickly who we are, and we don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Not everybody. I'm not going to say everybody. A lot of my listeners will be like, hang on a minute, Lucy, I've been working on myself a long time. But, you know, there is a lot of the population out there that have no clue who they are. What they have become married to is the CEO of a company, or dad, or mum, or stepmom, or whatever. It's the labels that they've been given. And actually, when you strip all of that away, which is what's happened this year, no longer have to go to work. We're working from home. Oh, so that CEO title is all of a sudden irrelevant. Oh, yeah, we've been stripped bare this year, in my opinion, so that it's time to level up and heal. And there's a lot of us that get it, but there's also a lot of us that don't.
Right. And when you and the ones that don't, okay, and I say this with an open heart to all of you who don't, okay, it isn't the reason that you probably think you don't get it. The true reason, in my understanding and the way I teach, is it's because of the ego that you have within yourself, okay? And ego is a tough thing to address, okay? And when I was real young, because I grew very fast and I played sports and I excelled in sports, you get to a point where, you know, in my case, I was one of the top players in no matter what league I played, let it be baseball, basketball, football, or track. And my ego excelled as well, because when you get to a certain point, there's no competition, you know, there really isn't. Yeah. And so you're like, well, you know, I can just kind of show up today. And you can't do that. You have to give 100% all the time in your life. And the ego is what tries to pull you back down. It doesn't always necessarily keep you on top, because, it's much easier to go lower to the lower frequency, because again, it's easier to drop down than it is to elevate.
Yes.
And I think most people don't recognize that within themselves when it comes to their own personal ego.
Yeah. And that's why when problems surface, it's easier for people to just say, oh, I'm going to default back to my old pattern or my old emotional trauma, which tends to be something low vibrational, like going out drinking, taking drugs, going back smoking, eating bad foods. They kind of step back into that because it's comfortable. Even though it's not comfortable, it's comfortable for the ego to be there.
Right. And something that a lot of people don't recognize within themselves is most of our conditioning, okay? Not necessarily the addictions, because addictions are part of conditioning, but the conditioning that we have from an early life growing up. We're very formative within our early years, and if we're not taught how to heal ourselves early, then we have struggles throughout our whole life. I'm very fortunate that at the age of 5, my grandmothers trained me in being a shaman. And so I didn't have the struggles that many of my counterparts and friends and family went through. And, that's something that, I wish everybody could understand. But at the same time, yeah. And at the same time, one of the biggest things that most people don't see today is that in our traditional belief, Pueblo Indian, and within our tribe, we believe that every 7th generation of a family, that there's an individual that comes in to do strictly to heal the karma of that family. Okay. Most families call us the black sheep. Okay. But in reality, we're the white sheep. We're the ones who are here to level the playing field of the past energies that caused major chaos within the entire family structure of generational structure. And so, there's people that are here that don't even realize that they are a true walk-in, that they're here exactly for that principle of healing. And so they get caught up in life, not following their true spiritual path, because again, the ego comes in. And hey, I was the same way. I got off of that as well when I was little, because I loved antique cars, and I just went crazy on cars. But I could talk about that at another day. But that's something that we have to take into consideration, that if you feel that you're that individual and you don't have somebody to communicate with, I'm here for that. I mean, I work with people that are walk-ins all over the world, and they have a different perspective of who they are within their family structure. And it's very difficult, because when you feel you're the outcast, boy, it can be a tough life if you don't understand the reason why you feel that.
Totally. I totally agree. And I think when you do, or at least from my perspective, when you actually figure it out as to why you needed to exclude yourself and why you never really fitted in, although everybody loved you, you didn't really fit in. Actually, when you figure the purpose out and when you recognize why, it's incredible. It's such a gift. It is such a gift, but most of us are so far down the line self-sabotaging that we can't pull ourselves back. Because I literally don't know how I went from what I did 7 years ago to what I am today. Like I'm blown away by it. I was out partying constantly, drinking alcohol, taking recreational drugs, smoking cigarettes, you name it. Like I was doing it all. And literally my body burning out and me having to heal myself is what triggered me to go on my path. And that's
a story that I hear so often. I want you to know that, it's like an incredible cross-reference with thousands, if not possibly millions of people that are here on this planet at this time for the actual healing of this planet. We're all coming to our best within our spiritual journey. And, everybody that's out there, if you think you're having a rough time, be grateful for that rough time.
Yeah.
Because you're going through something that's going to make you a better person, and it's going to heal some energies that not necessarily are your own personal energies, but they're energies that surround you. Because again, we're all drawn into bright light, white light, positive energy. I mean, nobody wants to just hang around with somebody that's down all the time and just depressed. And you know, because again, you absorb that energy.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know how to release that energy, pretty soon you're, like I mentioned earlier, you're down to that lower level.
Absolutely.
And that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to go backwards, you know.
The interesting thing that popped into my head when we were just talking through that is, I'm so glad 7 years ago I went through all of this, because I can't imagine going through this with as many people that are going through it right now, because there is a mass awakening taking place, right? Like literally everyone is being beaten with the awakening stick. It's like there's no choice anymore. At least we had a choice.
And that's a true statement. I mean, we did have a choice, and you know, the stick that's here now is a heavy stick. I mean, it's not like a soft, you know, feeling. I mean, when you see the stress and that individuals are going through, think of what their heart is going through.
Yeah.
I mean, the cardiovascular structure of the heart. I mean, you gotta imagine that, you know, that heart energy is just like being torn into a big old knot.
Yeah.
And it's in the indigenous way, we have to be the compassionate individual as a response to that energy. And so we have to be able to, you know, love what we've received and be able to accept that. And so that way we can release those shadow energies, release that energy that possibly is held within us.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way back, like I mentioned earlier, to our early childhood. So no matter what age you are, no matter how many lifetimes you've been here, no matter how many more you're going to come back to enjoy.
None. I'm not doing it again. Time out. Human is over for me.
Well, you might not realize that yet, but you know, most of us feel that way. But once we get through our struggles, I mean, I think the hardest part is putting closure on things when it comes to healing.
Yeah.
You know, because again, closure is something that we have to face very, very seriously within ourselves. And you know, as we go through suffering and trauma and things like that, most people kind of play a little jokingly about it, you know, because it's easier for us to kind of joke about things than to be serious about it. And the thing that we don't recognize is when we create the joking and the laughter, we're actually increasing that situation instead of decreasing it. We draw that energy faster. And again, that's within our, you know, our traditional beliefs. But at the same time, you know, as we move forward, it's very important for people to recognize the ability of touch. You know, some people refer to it as touch therapy. You know, there's a basic area of warmth within the individual of everybody, man and woman, as well as animals, when you're in touch, when you touch and you have physical contact. And so, you know, that soothing effect, that ability to have what one person might recall as the love hormone, so to speak, you know, that's very important to bring forth as we move forward. You know, we just can't just slap somebody on the back and say, hey, move on. You know, we have to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I find it that it's actually very interesting at how we're being segregated at the moment, like social distancing. And I mean, here in the UK, they've even gone as far as to say, you know, you've got to wear a mask to kiss people. Like, it's completely insane what they've been saying. And I never use that word. Please don't give me insanity. You know, but it's really unbelievable the kind of things that they're pushing. And for me, I keep speaking to people and saying, you know, break the rules, for want of better words, break the rules, because human connection is so important. Smiling, breathing, getting the fresh air is so important. If you want to heal, you've got to allow all of the flow in and out of your body constantly. And just it's almost like that this scenario has been designed to suppress through the awakening. So it's almost like, you know, as we're blossoming into a flower, there's just something, you know, it's almost like they've got a bag over the top of it or something, so it can't quite open. And I feel that's what's happening with us right now, is there is this layer of control, but whether you want it or not, this awakening is going to take place.
Yeah, and there's no going back.
No.
Okay. And because again, once you're awakened, you are basically in a whole new dimensional energy within yourself.
Yeah.
And everything else changes around you, because
Yes.
once you know the truth,
Yes.
you know, you're not going to be subject to misinformation.
No. And
Or
this is what I find, quite interesting, because the old Lucy, because obviously I've still got a lot of lower vibrational people around me and my family and everything, so I get to hear and I get to feel the emotions that they've got. But for me, like, I look at people that are making key decisions, people that are not particularly liked in the UK right now, and I'm just looking at, they're playing a role. They're playing a role, and their role this lifetime is to be, you know, so judgmental and so provocative that everybody rises up and goes, what are you doing? And to me, that's the most simple way I can explain it. But then there are the people that are so invested in that because that's all they've known and they've loved. Whereas when you awaken, it's almost like you go to a whole new level, and I'm going to swear, so please get your kids away, a whole new level of not giving a fuck.
no, you're right. My
Oh,
grandmother would say that as well, and probably pretty much in the same language that you just said. My grandmother, I mean, when she would curse, you know, everybody would be like in shock. And you know, I can remember being a little guy, you know, and I'd look up and I could see everybody's like faces just like in shock, you know. And as I got older, you know, she mentioned to me, she says, you know, the F word is one of the best words there is, because it is everything, you know. And I mean, I remember she's like, don't be afraid to say fuck that, fuck this, fuck you, fuck whatever.
You know what? Sometimes it needs to be said. Like, I used to drop it like it's hot, you know, like every other word I would drop it. But now it's only when I feel extremely passionate about it, and I know it will really get people's attention hearing that, because you get to that level. And imagine a world where you've got to the level that you actually go, do you know what? This is going to pass. You know, yes, we need to navigate these times, but we don't need to invest our time there because it's going to make us sick.
And we have to be able to transform that potential energy
Yeah.
that we're starting to create, because when we look at the energies that come from verbalization, okay, it's a huge frequency. I mean, it just depends on how soft you speak or how loud you speak.
Yeah.
But either way you look at it, the word creates that frequency.
Absolutely.
And as it hits you and radiates you, it's either going to be a positive, effective area, or it's going to be a negative that you could be traumatic to you. Because again, you're not accustomed to the truth. And so the healing aspect is really an amazing energy. One of the things that we do all the time, and Carla and I, when we're out driving and stuff, I have a feather wand in all of our vehicles, okay? And so we could go into a store, and I mean, you could just feel the crud, you know, you could just walk around, you're like, do I have to really be here, you know? But, you know, it's just the way it is, you know, we all have to do certain things. And we'll get back into the car and we'll like smudge ourselves, feather ourselves, wipe it off, you know, give our prayers, you know, and say, you know, thank goodness we're out of there, you know. And I tell everybody, I says, you know, keep a feather in your car. You know, I don't care if it's a dove feather, a pigeon, it could be a turkey, I mean, anything. You know, it's a feather. And when you feel those energies, just take them and rub your feet, you know, your arms, you know, and your face and your shoulders, and just kind of brush that energy off you. And sometimes, you know, even when we're like before we left New Mexico, I took Palo Santo and I smudged all the way around our vehicle. Okay. The tires, everything, you know, the motor compartment, you know, the trailer that we hauled with, you know, up here, everything. Because again, energies are not just of human form. everything has an energy. And we all tend to forget that, because again, we're doing our life, and it's not that way. Everything has energy. And so when you take that time into consideration to, put a sacred blessing around you or your family or things of this nature, then, you're definitely going to be protected, because the universe is going, wait a minute, they have done this and we can't let them down.
Yeah.
So
Lovely that you say that, actually, because tomorrow, for the first time in a long time, I'm taking a day off of work. I'm literally having the whole day off, and I'm actually going up into London, and I've already got my sweetgrass and my Palo Santo to make sure that I cleanse all over before I go, because obviously it's very sticky energy up there. It's very, very heavy. And I'm going to do a beautiful ritual. I'm going to have, after we finished here tonight, I'm going to go and have a beautiful salt bath, magnesium flake bath, and just make sure that I'm grounded and just getting myself ready. And I think that's been a huge part of my personal healing journey, is recognizing that every single thing, anything, is energy. Fundamentally, broken down, is energy, end of. And as soon as you can appreciate that, everybody that you touch, anything that you pick up, in a shop or whatever, you're consuming other people's energy.
Yeah.
And this is for me, it's been a game changer for my life. A game changer, because I'm from a very normal family. Well, I say normal. My mum's really intuitive. My dad's super intuitive as well, but they're like, oh, scared. Whereas I've just gone, okay, so I surrender, just show me what I can do. But, when you appreciate that, like even just picking up something in a shop and then putting it back down, you've got the 10 people's energy on it that you've had that have touched it before. And all it takes is for one of those people to have been having a bad day or have done something that they maybe shouldn't have done or whatever. And all of a sudden that energy then becomes yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of structure within, again, back to the touch. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's hand or foot or, whatever the connection is. And in our tradition, when we walk, okay, this is your toes, in the back of your heel. When you hit your heel, then you hit the ball of your foot and then the top of your toes. Those are the 3 light source energies that we bring forth when we touch. So we bring in creator source, the purple light. This area here is the blue light of consciousness, the center part. And then the top of your toe is your white light of individual consciousness. And so you're bringing in creator God, the collectiveness, and then yourself. And so as you're walking, just naturally, you automatically are putting prayer into the earth. And so when you're doing the ley lines and you're doing your dance and you're doing your spiritual energies, if you just take the time to consider putting those energies, envisioning those energies in your path as you walk, then you have the ability to not only protect yourself, but also the ability to heal the land as you walk. And I think that's a very important, part of life, is to be able to not just receive, but to give. And so every time you're walking, you're giving.
Beautiful. And actually, I was really lucky a year or 2 ago to spend some time with Thich Nhat Hanh in Vietnam. And actually, like how he teaches to meditate with your feet, literally kiss the earth with your feet. And I think there is such a huge part of what we miss as human beings, that going and sitting, grounding, walking very gently on the earth, talking to the plants, talking to the trees, talking to the flowers, talking to animals, is actually really catapulting the collective consciousness. It's quite interesting. And I think you'll laugh at this. I very recently, was organising, making sure that we were increasing the vibration frequency before we did meditation so that we could do collective healing. And for me, dancing, singing, clapping, laughing, cheering, everything upbeat increases the vibration, right? It increases the vibration. And there was a couple of people, again, somebody was quite abusive to me, and I thought, before I block you, I'm just going to go and check who you are. And I looked on this person's profile. I'm not going to give any more details than that. A person, it will do. And it clearly said that this person was like super conscious and all the rest of it. And I thought, if you do not understand, if you do not comprehend that the earth needs this vibration right now more than ever, and I mean, they were very abusive towards me. I literally just blocked them. So I was like, wow, you know, what is it that you are fearful of healing the planet? Do you, I don't know, is it because you feel that you are the person that should be doing that? I don't know, because for me, I don't care about anything other than humanity, which is quite a big thing, I know, but I want to make sure that everybody survives this stuff.
Jealousy is the biggest part right now that I've ran across dealing with this whole transition of the awakening.
Mm.
Okay. I used to do a lot of festivals here in the United States, and a lot of them in California and Nevada and different places. And when they originated, they were, in my true opinion, they were on the right foot. Okay. And as they started to grow, they became very corporatized, very much outside of the true beginning of what they initiated. And now most of them now are, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
It's not so much about, you know, the educational process of what you're trying to perform or give to people.
Or the traditions or something like that, right?
Correct.
What I feel at the moment, and I mean, you might have a totally different perspective on it, but what I feel at the moment is that actually through this awakening, we're going to go back to basics. We're going to go back to appreciate, because for me, I'm very like you. I've said to everybody, you know yourself, I absolutely love what you stand for, and I can't wait to get over to Naples and be able to do some work with you. I'm like, literally, come on, open the airports, you know, and when we go to Egypt, like, it's just going to be amazing. I really feel that we're going to go back to the traditions, because it frustrates me, and this is my ego speaking, it frustrates me that everybody wants a quick buck. Nobody wants to take the time. Oh, that's harsh. A certain number of people don't want to take the time to actually do the growth and go through the process. And I really feel that this awakening that we're going through over the course of probably till, let's be honest, April next year, it's actually going to humble people and take them back to want to learn the traditions and want to figure out actually why are we doing these things. What's your thoughts on that? Do you feel that that's going to be, or do you think that we're too far gone now?
No, I think in our tradition we say Ichalawa, Ichalawa. And that means we all return. Okay. Doesn't matter if we return to an angelic being or return back to our traditions, we all return. Because again, we all are given a path. And the path is let's say 3 directions. Okay. So I'm going to play a little insight with you, and just to show this kind of a meditational empath. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions, all right, and I'm going to have you write them down, your answers. Okay, and so I'm just going to kind of walk you through this. Okay, and then
my pen and paper.
yeah, pen and paper out, and then I'm going to go ahead and explain this as we walk through it after we've gone through this. Okay, all right, so there's no right or wrong. I just want you to know, okay? No right or wrong.
I love it.
All right. And so all of you out there, feel free to do the same thing, because some of you might have similar answers, some of you might not. Okay. But I'll cover all the answers. All right. And this was something that was given to me many, many years ago. Okay. So imagine yourself, okay, Lucy, and you're in the forest. Okay. And you're going down the forest, and all of a sudden you come to 3 paths in front of you. Okay. You have a path to the left, a path to the right, and not so much of an open path, a lot of rugged trees in front of you, but it could still be a path. Which direction do you go? Left, right, or center?
And I'm writing this down.
Yeah, write this down. Okay. Now you continue down your path, okay, whichever direction you went, okay? And all of a sudden you're going down your path, and in the middle of the path, there's a bowl, a wooden bowl, and it's got carvings all over the side of it. And as you get closer to it, those are carvings of yourself as you're growing through life, okay? So you're like just astonished, you're like in awe. And then all of a sudden you look inside the bowl. What is inside the bowl? What do you see?
And this is
Right.
the second answer, right?
Answer, okay? Think about it out there, people. Think about it. What do you see in the bowl? Okay. Now, do you pick up the bowl and take it with you? Do you leave the bowl? Write it down. Now, no matter what you do, you continue down your path, okay? You're just in the forest, you're just loving it. You hear the birds and the, different sounds of nature. Then all of a sudden something jumps out and scares the living hell out of you. What is it?
I'm not sure it would jump out, but it's good enough.
Okay, it jumped out, all right? Okay, now you continue down your path some more. And all of a sudden you hear water. And you hear this beautiful sound of water, okay? But you're not sure what it is. What type of water? Is it a stream? Is it a river? Or is it the ocean? Which of those three? A stream, the river, or the ocean? Okay, now we're getting close to the end of this journey, okay? Now you're moving forward and all of a sudden you're just like sitting down and you're just enjoying life and you're just so relaxed and you're just so blessed to just be on this path, okay? And all of a sudden you're in the forest and you come up and there's a huge wall in front of you, like 75 feet high.
Wow.
What do you do? Do you go around the wall? Do you climb over the wall? Do you dig under the wall? What do you do?
Well.
Okay.
I like this. This is fun.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, huh? Okay, so now, when you get over the wall, whatever you did, what do you see? And this is all part of a healing technique that I do with people when I do a 20-hour work course with individuals, okay? And so it's very important because it's like one of the very first things that I do because it gives me insight to what you think of you, okay? It's very important, okay? So let's go back to the very first answer you wrote.
Amazing.
Okay, so tell me, so tell me which side you went, left, right, or center?
I was straight into, as soon as you said it's not like a proper made path, I was like, well, that's where I'd go because that's just me.
Okay, you're going forward, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Those of you, okay, who went forward, okay, are true believers of a spiritual path. Okay, you're willing to create your own path instead of taking it an easy road. Okay, now those who went to the those who went to the right, okay, I want you to think about this, okay? Most of the time when you go into stores, which direction do you normally go? You go to the right. Okay, that's how they feed us, through the right. So you're conditioned to go to the right. In other words, you're just going to go where everybody else goes because that's where you're at in your life. Now, if you went to the left, okay, you're more on a spiritual side because the left side is spiritual energy. Okay, so your belief system lays normally more on the higher spiritual side, but at the same time, you have a self-doubt through the ego to take the center road. You follow me? Okay. All right. Go to your second answer.
I love that so much. It's interesting. So when you said something was in the bowl, I saw my inner child energy.
Okay.
Like,
So you,
and
so
then
you
I was
saw,
like, am I supposed to be conceptualizing, like actually having something in it? And then I was like, no, that's what came to you. Just go with it.
okay. A lot of times people
It was
will.
like playful. It was like fun. It was like the young Lucy.
Okay. And see, that's perfect. Okay. Because again, what you're seeing is a mirror of yourself. Okay. Sometimes people say they'll see water. And again, that's a reflection of yourself. In other words, you're willing to go and look at yourself. Okay. Sometimes people will say, well, I see gold or coins, or, I see food, and again, gold coins, you're looking at the prosperity end. Food, you're looking at, you got a real issue with food. I'm just saying, I mean, there's all these
I want
areas.
everybody at this point to be commenting below what they picked, right? It's at this point, I'm like, I want to see the comments.
And so that's very important. Now, the second part of that, did you leave it or did you take it?
Well, it was really interesting because initially I was like, I'm taking it with me. I'm taking it with me because it's fun and it's light and it's good to remember. And then I was like, but it might weigh me down because I don't know how long I'm going to be walking for. So my human kicked in. So I think I took it with me.
Okay, all right. So when you take the bowl with you, okay, it's not because you're selfish or any of this stuff. I just want to put that out there, okay? You're taking the bowl because you're on the journey by yourself. You're holding that journey and you're going to be nurturing, keeping it with you so you can evolve.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, those who leave a bowl, okay, you're actually pretty much afraid of really looking into yourself. Really diving into it. Okay. And because again, it's like, I don't want to have to face myself, I know.
Like, let's be honest with any of you out there that left the bowl, right? We've all left the bowl at some point, but now is the time to take the bowl and look in the bowl and have a good root around in the bowl. Give it a shake.
There you go. Yeah. And so now move on to the next one. What scared you? What jumped out and got you?
It was a bird. It was like an eagle. And that's why I was like, I'm not sure it would jump at me, but like it was like an eagle. It was a bird. It was like a swoop.
Okay, so the eagle, okay, represents strength, truth, light, okay, and so you have all those energies around you for protection, okay. Now, sometimes I hear people say, well, a bear jumped out and grabbed me, okay. Well, bear is strength as well, but a bear is more of a wanderer, okay. So let's say if you're going through the woods and a bear smells you, a bear will go around you to see you versus directly at you, okay. So you're a wanderer. In other words, you have kind of a wishy-washy idealism about who you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and again, it just depends on which animal it is. So if you have different animals and you put them down there, I'll try to take some time out here and I'll comment on them. Okay.
I actually think it would be really good. It would be really, really helpful, to just see what people pick because I'm going to be fascinated by this. I think this is amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm like, when are the flights going to start? I want to go over. Literally, I want to come and stay with you for a while.
Okay, so now we come to the water.
Yes.
Okay, so which were you, the stream, the river, or the ocean?
Well, as soon as you said water, a waterfall came into my head. Okay. And I was like, okay, a waterfall could be linked to a stream or a river, so I went river. Am I doing all right?
You're doing great. You're doing great. Okay, now this is where it goes into effect. Okay, this is where we separate people. Okay, not that it's good or not that it's bad because we're all on different time schedules and different paths. Okay, the stream represents somebody learning.
Yeah.
The stream, the waterfall, Okay. Now, the river represents those teachers.
Makes sense.
Okay. The ocean represents the mass, the
Oh.
collectiveness. Okay. So you've already learned, you're the teacher now, and you're bringing it to the collectiveness.
Wow.
Okay. Now, some of you who might have just said the ocean, that means you're ready to absorb what is being brought to you from the teacher.
Amazing.
Okay. Those of you who said you are the stream means that you're still, in our traditional belief, a newbie, a young soul. So you're still learning. Okay. Now we go to the wall.
I was going over. When you said 75 foot, I'm like, I'm not sure how I do this because I'm 5'4".
Okay.
But I'd figure out how to get over it. I'd look to see if there was a route around, but then I'd go over. I just know that I would.
Okay. So this is the tricky part. Okay. This is one of the tricky parts. Okay. Now, when I said there was a wall, I didn't say the wall was in front of you this way.
No, you didn't.
The wall is actually in front of you this way.
You just
Okay.
walked on the side of it.
No, you could have just walked around it. Okay.
Of course.
But you said you went over it. Okay. So that tells me that you are willing to go through hard struggles to get over any situation that's in front of you.
Yeah.
Now, those of you who went under the wall, dug a hole, because some people are like, hey, I'm digging a hole, I'm going under. Okay. Sorry, the wall's got a lot of wall underneath too. You're going to be digging for some time. In other words, you're spinning your feet.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not moving forward.
It's so interesting because what I wrote down was look for a route around, and if not, go over. So I'm like,
see, your first intuitive, yeah. See, your first intuitive would have got you around it. See, yeah. There you go. There you go. We all have that time where we get a little wishy-washy on what we think. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with being on your path and going, well, is this really where I'm going to go?
Yeah.
But normally, your first spiritual knowledge on this journey that we're just shared is going to guide you the direction that you're meant to be. Okay. Absolutely. All right. So now, this is the greatest part of the journey. What did you see over the wall?
I saw beautiful countryside and animals everywhere, like literally animals everywhere. Okay. All sorts of animals, horses, cows, you name it, animals.
Okay. The other side of the wall is paradise.
Well, it was.
And that's what you're seeing. Okay. You have already envisioned your path ending in paradise.
Yeah.
Okay. Many people see chaos. Yeah. Some people, don't even want to get over the wall. I'm telling you, I've had people, well, I ain't going over the wall.
I'm going back.
I'm going back. And I've had people say that. I ain't going over the wall. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to have a long struggle with this, with this 20 hours here because you don't want to be able to accept. Wow. Okay. And so that's part of the energies of understanding and everything that deals with our physical and emotional health.
Amazing. I love that exercise. I love it so much. And I really hope everyone listening at home has just gone and done that exercise. Don't listen to the answers and go back and do it. No. Like do it as you get, like it's amazing. That is just amazing.
Well, it's one of the, because when we're learning on a spiritual journey, okay, I don't know how all of you have gone through your spiritual journey, but my grandmother's always made it fun. And sometimes it was so obnoxious. It was like, was this even a lesson? Because it was just too much fun. I mean, it wasn't something that was a sit down like you're sitting in your college class and, trying to pass a test. Okay. And when you allow yourself to learn in a easier environment of actually being more absent of stress, Okay, because again, when you know, a lot of people, I'm sure they're going, just like, oh, shit, I hope I got the answer right. You know, you know, I mean, seriously, you know, you put the stress on you, you know, and I see that all the time when I do this test, you know, because again, it's there's not a right or wrong, but it's still a test because again, I need to understand and I desire to understand and I allow myself to understand where you're coming from on your journey. And so I can't like, you know, put in my traditional American Indian beliefs and say, hey, you know, this is the way you should know. It's not that way because we all are different. We all come in different tribes. We've all been different ethnicities at one time in prior lives. We've been male, we've been female, we've been moms and dads and children, and some of us have been animals. Okay, and that's just, you know, part of the energies of growth as we come from source, so to speak, in the spiritual energy. And so that's one of the very important areas of healing that we work through within that. And when we look at things that, you know, and you kind of mentioned it earlier about dollars and cents, okay? A lot of people have a real issue with financial freedom, okay?
My subscribers will love what you're about to say. I don't know what you're going to say, but this is something that I have been speaking to them a lot about recently because so many people have no relationship with it.
Right, and it's something that I went through really early in life. Okay, because I come from a family that I never went without. I'll just say that. Okay, uh, where the money came from wasn't always from the positive because my dad's wife was a deep state politician, corrupt. Okay, payoffs, bribes, all the things that you want to imagine. I witnessed growing up. Okay. I didn't all put it together till I got old enough to understand. But hey, once I understood, I was like, holy shit. You know, I mean, we weren't like the Biden family. I'll say that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it wasn't, a good energy. Okay. But again, I didn't go without. But once I recognized that, I did a prayer and I asked Spirit to keep money from me. And so, because I didn't want to be like that side of that energy that I grew up with.
And I
And
think, sorry to interrupt you, I think that is actually something that will really resonate with a lot of people because a lot of my clients say to me, but money's dirty. And kind of alluding to the things that you're quite vulnerably sharing, you know, it's incredible to hear you share them. And there is a lot of people out there that feel it's bad, feel, oh, well, I can't do that. If I'm spiritual, I can't have money. And then there are also people that judge people for charging for their spiritual gifts, which
right.
is just a big mess, right? It's the manipulation that we're in.
It is. And so when I went through this, you know, I had to give up a lot of things because I was doing really well. I was out of control, collecting antique cars, which I love cars. Okay. So, hey, if anybody knows where old cars are overseas and they want to get rid of them one day, please let me know. uh, but anyhow, uh, you know, we look at money and we look at it from a negative standpoint, and so money won't come to us, and that's just period. There's no way to get around that. Okay. When we look at spiritual people, in reference to what you said earlier, who are afraid to charge for their services, okay, this is what I call it. We have to have a balance of exchange. Okay. Example, if I do something that takes energy and light for me and I share it with you, okay, and you give nothing back, then there's an exchange of balance that's off. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean I have to have money. Okay. I mean, because I'll use this as an example of how the balance of exchange works. Okay. I had a client once who actually became an apprentice, which was really great. And yeah, and she had a violin, an acoustic violin. Okay. And everybody that knows me knows, I have a hard enough time playing the didgeridoo, let alone a violin. Okay. I mean, I got big lips and everything, but they just don't work the same way. I'm just telling you. Okay. And so the violin, she's like, hey, I'd love to come to your class, but I just don't have any money. But I got this old violin, which really wasn't old. It was brand new. She never used it. And she's like, can I give you this for coming to your class? And I'm like, sure, why not? Why not? So I had this violin just sitting for, I'd say almost 2 years. Okay. And one day I get a call, and I got a call from a guy in Boise, Idaho, who's now in Australia making didgeridoos, because he made them in Idaho, but he went to Australia because he's learning some other techniques. And he calls me up and he says, BT, he says, my daughter's having her birthday coming up. She plays the violin, and I'd like to get her an acoustic violin. Okay. And again, this is years later. Okay. And I'm looking at, I'm just, looking at Spirit, I'm just envisioning Spirit laughing at me, just like, ha, 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 and I'm like, hey, by the way, I happen to have one. And he like almost crapped his pants. He's like, what? You got to be kidding me. Don't pull my leg, And I'm like, no, I got one. And he's like, well, what kind is it? I said, well, I don't know. Let me go look. And so I go get it, and it was a Fender violin, real high. It was all pearl inlaid. I mean, this was a badass violin. And I took pictures of it, and I sent them to him. And he calls me back up, and he's like, BT, what do you want for that violin? And I'm like, what do you want to give me? He goes, go to my website, didgeridoo, blah, blah, blah.com, what have you, and he says, pick whatever violin you want. Not violin, whatever didgeridoo you want. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like thinking, I don't even know how to play a didgeridoo. I don't know.
Exchange of instrument.
It's like, whatever, And so I go onto his website and I'm check out. He had like 75 different types of there, maybe more, but I looked at them all. And there was only one that I liked. And it was made out of black walnut, and it had a form of white maple for the mouthpiece. And it was just the most incredible, beautiful didgeridoo that I'd ever seen. And I've been on all these festivals and seen thousands of them all over. And I said, that's the one I want. That's the one I like. And he goes, well, can you pick another one? Because that's my favorite. I says, no. I says, I thought your daughter was your favorite, and I just happen to have a Fender violin. Okay. So he says, and he lived like 280 miles away from me. Okay. So he wasn't like next door. Okay. So he says, hey, let me go ahead and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to gather up a bunch of my didgeries and I'll bring them down and you can pick. And I said, don't bother bringing them all down. I just want the one. Just bring that one. Okay. So he shows up the next day and he knocks on the door and he comes in and he's like, hey, I'm here. We check out that violin. So, and he knew how to play a little bit of it. Okay. So he brought his own like amplifier and everything. Wow. He's like jamming out on it. He's just like astonished that, I would have a violin. Okay. So he goes, I'm going to go get your didgeries. And I went, didgeries? I says, I just wanted the one. He says, well, it might not work for you, because, everybody's lips are different. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And I'm like, dude, it isn't for me, but hey, whatever. So he starts bringing in all these didgeries. Okay. And he's like, what do you think of this one? I'm like, yeah, it's nice. But it's not the one I want.
That one.
Yeah, I want this one. Okay. So after it was all said and done, he brings in the one I wanted.
The one.
Yeah, the one. Okay. And I still have it to this day. And I play with it every now and then. I'm not the greatest didgeridoo. I just haven't figured out that, air intake all the time, moving it around. And it's crazy. It's really hard, but I try. And I do, I do the best I can. And every now and then I, sound like, I'm playing a foreign instrument outside of a didgeridoo. Okay. but I love it. Okay. And when I have seminars and people who know how to play it, I leave the instruments out, like drums and different things. And there's always somebody that comes that knows how to play the didgeridoo.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What a beautiful energy exchange that was, that it went full circle. It's beautiful, right? And I totally agree with you. Like, I don't like to charge a lot of money for my seminars because I want to do as much as I possibly can, but there has to be a cost associated, in my opinion, or something like you say, there's an exchange of services or something like that. I've got friends who are shamans that are like, oh, you do this for me and I'll do that for you. And it's like, sweet, and that really, really does work. But you are right.
Yeah.
We have to get in alignment with the energy exchange, and the energy exchange is going to look different in the future.
Yeah.
It's and not the not too distant future, fingers crossed. It's going to look very different than it is today. So hopefully there will be this removal of the dirty money, but we do need to get a grip on it. It is manipulation, and it is damage that we've done and that we've had around us that has created this fear, if you like, in the body.
And it is, and see, when Spirit came to me and said, BT, you can have money. Okay. You don't have to think it's dirty.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, well, let me know a little bit more. That's my little guy, Ralph, if you hear that little
that
hack.
made me jump the first time.
This is Ralph. He's 15 years old, and he has an allergy that makes him hack and whack. Okay, so it's just, he's in perfect health.
Oh, I'm sure I went like that.
I know. Sometimes he does it so loud. I'm like, Ralph, can you go to the garage, please? But anyway, he's a little healer himself. He's helped a lot of people with asthma over the years. Little dog chihuahuas are really good for asthma, just so people know. Okay, and so he takes it in, and as he's gotten older, he's developed that because he's pulled so much from different people.
Oh, love it.
And it's his love, so to speak.
Yeah.
But within that balance of exchange, we have to understand that there is an appreciation of exchange. Okay, you have to appreciate what you're giving, put a value to it in some shape, manner, or form, and be able to receive something with an equal value.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when it comes to some people who say, well, hey, I'm only going to take the almighty dollar. Okay. Now, that's when you're putting a block on the circle of balance of exchange.
Yeah.
And so you're actually hurting yourself down the road. Okay. Because think of it from a standpoint of energy. Let's say, what if somebody wanted to give me something that I didn't want to receive? Okay. And 2 years later, I find out it was a Picasso painting for real.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah, you'd be pissed. That's what it is. You'd be pissed.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of things. And as we're moving through this transition to money, okay, as well as I'm sure some of your viewers might understand that we're going through a new economic situation right now globally, okay? And so right now we have the Federal Reserve, the fiat currency of the world's, okay, because there's different banks in different countries, but it's Federal Reserve money, fiat currency that doesn't have any asset-backed backing, okay? And then what we have over here on the other side is we have what is referred to as a Basel compliance currency. And Basel compliance basically means that the banks of today have been buying up gold for a number of years. So that way that when they loan money out, that they're actually loaning their money out, not all of your money. So if there's a run on the bank, they can give you your money back, so to speak. And that's what we're going through right now within this transition. And so the barter system is going to be brought back into play. as it already is through cryptocurrency and other areas of value, so to speak, that are being utilized. And then at the same time, we have to be able to put an understanding that if you're not willing to do a proper balance of exchange, you're actually putting zero value in your own energy.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's detrimental to your health. I just wanted to let you know, because I know many healers that are out there that whine and bitch and moan because they have no money. Okay. And I'm like, well, shit, you just spent a 40-hour work week with 700 people and you didn't have enough money to pay your electric bill of $75. I mean, that's just BS. You know, there has to be something, and not everybody's going to give the same amount. Okay, and this is what I do, and I have a brochure if somebody wants this. You know.
Yeah, just on that point, below wherever the description is, I think it's below the video. We'll have all of your details, how they can get in touch with you, and just give me your website and everything like that, so that people know how to get in touch with you, because people will want to, right? I've got listeners and subscribers all over the world, and people will want to get in touch with you. I want to come over and see you, so I'm sure other people do too. They'll be like, Lucy, when you go, can I come?
It's all great. It's all great. But in the balance of exchange, I talk about everything within what we've stated earlier. But here in the United States, because there's so much of a different minimum wage structure from the East Coast to the West Coast, what I always tell people is, if you live in an area that's of lower minimum wage, so to speak, then bring your cost effectiveness down to the people in that wage group.
Yeah.
So that way everybody in that area can at least attend.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do something that's in an area where the minimum wage is higher, then you can bring it up to that other area.
Yeah.
And so you're on a level playing field, instead of just, gouging somebody who can't, they're going to go without, and
Yeah. Absolutely.
We never want anybody to go without.
No, exactly. And that's one of the big drivers of what I do with my Self-Love Club, actually, is I've kept the prices as low as I possibly can, so that I can help people that really can't afford to invest in themselves, or wouldn't invest in themselves, because it's a choice of food or, so I keep my seminars as low as I possibly can, but then I've got other things that other people buy into, like my one-to-ones and stuff, higher prices. So it's very important to get that balance. It's very important to know your market. It's very important to put a value on yourself.
When you look at that value of yourself, there's an area that's referred to as the law of merchant. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, the law of merchant. Yeah. And this is what it simply says: a man is worthy of his toil, or woman. Okay. Yeah. All are equal before the law. Truth is sovereign. An unrebutted affidavit stands as the truth, and he who does not properly argue loses. Okay. And so that's something that has been going on since the beginning of time, as far as the understanding of it. And it's also connected to what we refer to as the jurisprudence of providence. And that means we have a duty to God and lower animals. We have a duty to our community, a duty of self-regarding, and a duty to the sovereign of our country, state, and nation. Yeah. And see, all that is part of the balance of exchange. Because again, everything is universal and it works together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love how we've covered off some real areas where people are sticky with their journey, because all of this, we need to get on top of all of this. And it might seem like a lot for people right now, but when we can get on top of all of this, we're actually stepping in a massive direction towards the end journey, which is healing ourselves of all of the things that we've carried, all of the stickiness that have been around us. So many people reach out to me on my YouTube channel, or off the back of my YouTube channel, saying, I need to heal. whether it be health, whether it be wealth, whether it be, you know, any area of their life, like spiritually, there's so many people that reach out. And I think, you know, I mean, I could sit here and talk to you forever. Literally, I could just sit here and we could just wonder and discover on all of these different topics. My last question to you, though, because obviously I'm very respectful of your time. My last question to you is, if somebody is just starting out on their journey, like their individual journey, and they're like, there's a few things around the world right now that just aren't adding up, but I don't know what they are, but I know that I need to work on me. Where would you suggest people start?
Okay, well, this is something that I would suggest two areas first, okay? Okay. Number one, start on recognizing your own faults.
Yeah.
Okay? Recognizing the things that you know within yourself are difficult to admit to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love that.
Okay. I think that's the first thing that we have to do.
You've got to get real with yourself, right?
Yeah.
You've
And
got
I mean get hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mean like be all soft and wimpy about yourself. I mean, get right down into the crap. I mean, seriously, you know, there's a good shower afterwards. Trust me. Okay. You know, but get real. Okay. Yeah. The second part is to allow yourself self-forgiveness of self. Yeah. Okay. Because again, when the ego is involved, when you're looking at yourself, we can be the hardest critics to ourselves. Sure. And it can be very damaging. Yeah. And so we have to be able to go ahead and accept who we are within that energy. And so before we leave, what I'm going to do, I like to do this anytime I get an opportunity, and this is an opportunity. Okay?
Love it.
And we'll close out on this after we're done here, okay? So what I'm going to ask all of you out there that are listening to this talk between Lady Lucy here, okay, and myself, okay, I'd like you to just to take yourself and just sit down if you're not already sitting down, and close your eyes and just listen to this, okay? Just listen. And then become part of this and recognize this. Great Father, Great Mother, Great Spirit, we come today with the purest of heart, with humility within ourselves, with love within ourselves. We give gratitude for the healing within ourselves, the acceptance of ourselves, the acceptance of others. We give gratitude to recognize within ourselves the true angelic spiritual light source energies that lie within us, that are the true energies that overcome flesh and soul. We give gratitude for the people that are around us on this journey to guide us, not to bring us to a new transition, but to guide us in knowing the transition within ourselves, for it is our journey individually. We give gratitude for everything that surrounds us, both shadow and light, for there is balance within the two that lie within us. We give gratitude for this day, for the ability to come together, to be able to share within the future, and we give gratitude simply for gratitude. And we say this humbly, aho. And then you can open your eyes again.
That's beautiful. What a way to finish. Oh my goodness. Don't you just love him? Honestly, I just love you so much. I really do. And I love your beautiful partner as well. She's amazing. And I can't wait to meet you both. So to everybody, thank you for listening so much. I will have all of BT's details below so that you can reach out to him. Do feel free to do so, and do also comment below with all of what came up as we went on that journey. I'm going to be fascinated by the comments, and I'm going to literally put it in the description. You must do this as you go, so it's really clear for people so they don't like go back and cheat or whatever. But I think it's fantastic. BT, You're an absolute gent. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll speak to you, okay? Thank you, everybody, for listening. Appreciate you.